many of them took time to write something out. I was a little disheartened. In fact, I was really appalled when a para said to me last week that she was sitting in the front row, and she was quite concerned that the board members were texting at the table, and she had made a comment that they should stop doing so. And the board member, in her discussion of saying, you really should stop texting, she said to the board member, this is a serious matter. Some of us are losing our jobs. And the board member said to her, tough shit. When the person repeated this back to me, I was really just floored, because there are certain things that, as a president of this association, and Mr. Ostreicher, you can attest to this, I have done many things with trying to keep peace in the district. Keep peace. Our teachers, in fact, do this in the schools every day, because we all have our own prejudices, and that is true. I grew up in the 60s, so I know I'm brown. I know what discrimination is about, but unfortunately, when our members sit here and the board is predominantly Orthodox, and then someone says that to a para, it kind of gets construed, and it raises hackles, and it creates an ugly picture. And I think that, Mr. President, you need to make sure that the board members understand, just like I try to make my members understand, that when they come before you, that they are supposed to be respectful of the fact that you are board members and also human beings. And I know that sometimes you all take a lot of nonsense from the people in the audience, but I also believe that board members are supposed to be respectful and professional back to us. So I would hope that that doesn't happen again. I would also like to make a comment about the procedure last week. We did not follow the proper procedure for people who want to speak in reference to being riced. Those people, their names should have been on a list. They should have been called to this microphone by name. They should have had the opportunity to ask why they had been riced. And that is not what we did. We actually started the meeting. We had the public portion. And actually, there was only one staff member who had the opportunity to ask questions about her employment or why she was being let go. We did not do that for the paras, and I want to make it very clear. Even though they did get to speak, we did not follow the proper procedure for paras who had been riced. And the last question I have to ask is about reading in the park. It's my understanding that that was a grant that we used to apply for, and we didn't apply for it this year. For some reason, I'm not really sure what happened to it, but I did want to ask that question. It was a program that was done during the summertime, so I don't know. I think, Ms. Silva, maybe you might know. I don't know if you know anything about that, but I was just asking a question. Okay, all right, okay. All right, I think the teachers that spoke tonight pretty much said everything that I would have to say, and I do want to thank them, because there are some of us who do have, we do have some very bright memories. Our children who went through Lakewood schools, and I used to always tell people, I moved here from Cincinnati, I never wanted to be here, but I got involved, and it's been the pride of my teaching career to work in Lakewood and to work with these staff members that flank me on either side. I thank them every day, even though they call me sometimes and I want to scream and say, leave me alone. So, but thank you all.
It would all, as you well know, I mean, some might think I like the mic and I enjoy to speak in large groups. Some might, but what I would like to say is that, in all honesty, I think that the statement that Mrs. Cousins shared with this board really are serious to have an individual who puts their heart out to serve our children and to be honest and open enough to speak with one of the board members. And I don't need to name them, nor do I need to know who the board member is. But I think that it is shameful. It is, as one of my favorite phrases is, perception becomes reality. That we have to be oh so cautious about the way in which we choose to treat those who have entrusted us with this awesome responsibility, and that I consider it an ultimately disrespectful, and I would hope that at some point, whomever that person was that did such just an insensitive, inhumane thing, would find it in their own heart to show that person, or at least to apologize, and to truly look at how hurtful such statements could be. I mean, somebody is basically putting their life out there, and for someone to say such a thing, I mean, worse things could have been happening. Because I've never been, Rice, but I don't know that would have been a response. I would have handled all that well. I mean, hey, life is life, and so we have to be cautious. It's an awesome responsibility, and when people entrust you with their heart, you can't just crush it. And so I hope that at some point the person comes forward, at least to its fellow board members, and eventually takes the opportunity to apologize to that person that they slighted, because that was definitely wrong. And if any other board member heard that, I don't think they would condone that behavior.
Through the chair?
Yes.
I would like to know from Mrs. Cousin, who it was.
Yes, through the chair.
She made a statement. I would like to know who it
I
was.
believe also that this recording of the board meeting, if somebody heard it on the other side, it would be reported. You can't say it loud enough for them to hear it, and it has to be heard, it has to be reported. And I did not hear anyone on this row saying something like that. Everyone was.
Fellow board members, as I stated before, we're not here to blame shift. I think what we're here to do is we have gotten to a better, this just talks to the way in which we communicate with the community. It was definitely wrong, no wronger than somebody who shows disrespect for the meeting and doesn't pay attention, shows disrespect for the meeting and is talking to other people, shows disrespect for the meeting and is text messaging outside of this room. What I say to that is, I would be more concerned that we, as a board, once again, I don't want everybody to say nobody knows what happened, nobody did it. But I don't think we need to put somebody out here to prance back and forth in front of the community. I don't think that's wise either. Okay, but what I do think is wise is if the individual own up to the fact that maybe the pressure got to them and they need to be prepared because there's more pressure to come, and if they don't address that issue, that will occur again, and it may occur in not such a nice way. Because if we don't deal with whatever it is that isn't right, trust me, you will repeat it again. And the next time, somebody might not walk away and tell Miss Cousins, somebody might get slapped. Is it right? No.
Please have their mouth washed with soap.
I've been saying
I know where
that.
people are when you say
Sometimes we're gonna slap someone. I've been saying
So
that.
that's enough for mine. So any other public?
Through the chair.
Yes.
As a legal matter, I think the public needs to hear, and the employees who work with our children day in, day out in our 6 schools.
Right.
It is my understanding pursuant to contract, and at this point I am the only lawyer on this table, that if those paraprofessionals pass the test, they will be hired back. Now, again, I can't have dialogue because then I'm slapped. But the fact is, Mr. Thomas, may I continue, sir?
Yes, I'll follow it up.
Okay. It is my understanding that contractually, whether the board agrees or not, contract goes based on law, that those paraprofessionals who pass the test will be hired back. As far as the letter, I don't get the privilege of seeing all these letters. I don't get the privilege of seeing Rice letters. If you remember, Ms. Cousins, you sat here, I had to ask you to show me the letter. So in all due respect, the contract as I read it, at 9:14 this evening, is that, as I said last week, those paraprofessionals who pass the